And players are getting right into this one. I think it's going to be 0 delay. So, yeah, hopping into game number 1. Hindustani Chinese on Kilimanjaro here.
Yep.
Pretty good civs on both sides here for sure.
Yep. And so just to re-explain the stakes and everything, both players here actually need a 3-0 to change the current position in the standings. MbL needs a 3-0 to survive, or he'll be relegated, which is crazy because he was the winner of his group in the first season. Liereyy needs a 3-0 just to get first place. Otherwise, he'll be in second place. And, with me, Hera. Or with me, I have Hera. Sorry, very awkward. But Hindustanis versus Chinese, what are your thoughts on the overall matchup?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome matchup because both civilizations are incredibly strong. I do think, though, Chinese feel like a good civ into Hindustani because you have the options of going crossbow, but you can kind of match their camels as well with some camels of your own if needed. And then, obviously both civs have fantastic economies. That being said, though, this map can, get a little crazy. So sometimes, even on paper, if you got the better civs, you still got to play like pretty sharp. You still got to adapt well. So we'll see what MbL can pull this one. And he's learning some deer, so playing a little standard to start things off.
The thing I like Chinese in general on any map that's dominated by land. But the thing that has really bumped up Chinese in my thinking of them on this map is that your feudal age time isn't even going to be that slow if you take the shorefish. You were the first person that did it. So we had everyone milling the shorefish, but everyone with Chinese was kind of just like taking the berries and walling. But I think at one point you went 20 pop scouts.
Yeah, it's so fast.
And you just can't do that on other maps, right? Like I think the fastest you could maybe pull off would be 21, but even then it feels really awkward on Arabia. Most people go for 22. But yeah, it's incredibly fast. And then that weak period in early feudal where you normally want to wall or just keep that Vil lead isn't really a weak period anymore.
Yeah, and it's a little deceiving because you only have one elephant on this map. We also get the deers in, and the shorefish is just so powerful from a food source perspective. So it's the kind of thing that just gets you there when it comes to the early game. Yeah, 100% agreed. Chinese are super smooth on this map. But we are seeing a little bit of an interesting build from Liereyy. He's going 4 to wood, so he's not going to be targeting that fast uptime. Instead, I think he's going to go for a men-at-arm rush.
Yeah, I can see it. And it's also something that players have been toying around with. Liereyy did it against Yo, which I think it actually surprised Yo. I think Yo didn't think it was man-at-arms. I think he thought it was a drush, honestly. But, and I forget who else has done it. But again, this is just not something that you normally see with the Chinese. Because any build with the Chinese, you want to be able to afford eco upgrades in early feudal. And man-at-arms is just more awkward of a build here. So Liereyy going to play towards his strength, try and get into archers as quickly as possible, and I really like that for him.
Yeah, 100%. He's also trying to lure some deer from so far away. Is that really his deer patch, by the way? That's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
kind of forest. It's awkward.
Yeah, let's see. This is actually really good for anyone who wants to wall. So in a series with MbL, this could always be good. Ooh, this is sick. Oh. If MbL gets the kill,
ooh, 1 for 1. Really well played there from MbL, though. I think he kind of had to pull something out of the bag there with the Vil coming in, but well played. Straight to 1 for 1. That's actually beneficial for the player not going men-at-arms. By the way, you need your scout for men-at-arms. I wouldn't be surprised if Liereyy does not go for men-at-arms anymore.
Yeah, he also is going to go double mill now, so he might actually delay his uptime. Because any strategy that incorporates the need to block, which is man-at-arms or drush, right? You need that scout. But also at the same time, they're still pretty far away from feudal. There's now no scout to kill villagers that aren't loomed. So I like Lierey's approach of just playing safe. I'd expect MbL to kind of do the same here.
I hope MbL goes up no loom. I think he's going to go for it, and he definitely should here. Your opponent lost his scout. There's no threat.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah, he goes for it. Nice. Well played.
Just make sure you queue it up after feudal just so you don't forget.
100%.
Especially because you don't have the scout to see if man-at-arms is actually happening, so...
And Liereyy, with that pretty quick up, not as fast as we normally talked about, but, he's still pretty competitive. MbL went up 20 Vils, and Lierey's going up 22 with the Chinese, so he's up 2 Vils, and he's only down 20, 21 seconds for the feudal timing.
Lierey's going to push in the final ostrich with the villager, just to get a little bit more food, which honestly feels pretty nice here. But, yeah. It seems like it's going to be scouts for both. We'll, of course, see. I would even see a world here where Liereyy, since he's walling so much, just wants to go spears. But Lierey's just not that type of player. Like, going spearmen and walls is not his strong suit. Normally, he's going for army control. And he is now going to gold now, so probably just a late archer
goes
build.
to gold. Yeah, he just wants to go for the one range. It's kind of triggering me a little bit, but there's a wall on the left hand side that Liereyy, he thinks he built, but he didn't actually build it.
Ooh.
So if that's like, it's not going to come up. But if it does, it's a disaster. So
Yep.
We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that one. But yeah, range build makes sense with the Chinese. We'll see if MbL will adapt to some skirmishers. But yeah, it looks like he'll just drop down the stable, which is fair enough.
Yeah, I'm never the biggest fan of going scouts when my initial scout has died. I don't know about you, it is situational, but I feel like more often than not, by the time I have the amount of scouts to do any damage, which is 2 minimum, 3 usually if you want to play it safe, at that point, everything's already walled up. But it's never bad to have vision on the map and to have some scout presence. It's not like you have to engage against the archers, which are still pretty far away.
Yeah, exactly. I love how you mentioned that as well. Like, you can just make a scout just to see what's going on, but you're definitely right in that your scout rush isn't nearly as powerful. I also feel like the initial scout can stop the walling sometimes, like kind of delay the walling build. So without that, you're just coming in way too late most of the time.
Yep.
I also love that MbL sending a speeder right away forward to see what his opponent's going for. That being said, though, the best strategy to do when you lose your scout is straight archers, because it's chill, you get to wall up, and it doesn't rely on your scout as much. And Liereyy is going for that, so pretty much a nice position to be in for him.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking about the players. I feel like MbL's style is give up some map control, and then boom, and then like kind of counterattack. He's more of like a wall counterattack type style. Lierey's more of the let's hold map control the whole time and map presence with army type of player, and Liereyy doesn't have a lot of weaknesses when people give him time and give him that map control. So I think in MbL's mind, there should be some pressure here to just do damage all the time against Liereyy, which might not necessarily suit his style of play. But he sees the range, so he knows, and this will give him some time. And he's going to add the range now at home, so I guess he's just going to prep towards skirms.
Yeah, I think there's a skirmish right away. The only issue I see here for MbL, though, is that his scouts, and he invested quite a bit into them. He made 3 scouts and the stable, of course. You're not really going to find any damage, so you might even consider, from this position, going for pretty heavy skirms, admitting that you're going to get the slower castle time, but then, putting a lot of pressure on Feudal Agent. Here, the whole could happen, yeah.
I like how Liereyy noticed it, and, I mean, that's the weirdest spot I've ever seen a couple scouts in, but, yeah. Good job from Liereyy.
That diagonal gate, dude. The freaking panic double gate, or the diagonal gates. It's just 2 jokes. Just gonna go wall it up properly.
I just imagine Liereyy as well. Like, oh, of course. I gotta. Shift click didn't work,
Yeah. Scoffs a little bit, maybe spits on the ground. He's always making noises, God knows what he's up to.
So
he's going for a few archers as well, still. Nothing crazy.
So I'm gonna tell you what I would do in Lierey's current position, at least like from the bird's eye view. Obviously, when I'm in the game, I'm probably making very different decisions. But what I would do, because he scouted the range, is I would never move out with my archers. I would simply keep my archers in my base, and I would wait till Castle Age, because I'd be assuming that MbL would make skirms and get upgrades to control the map. I kill my archers, and I just go towards Castle Age. Obviously, it's pros and cons, but thoughts on the whole situation, I guess.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that. I think if you want to move out, the only way you do that is to sneak. So you have 2 options. Yours is probably the safest and probably the best overall, is just to stay in the range and wait for castle. But if you did want to move out, sneaking isn't the worst, because you can defend with just a couple archers, and you can send like 4 archers around the side.
Yeah.
And chances are you might find some damage. So those are your 2 options from this position in like a tournament game. And it looks like Lierey's just going to play it safe, which I'm a fan of. No risks. You're Chinese. You're on crossbow. This is where he wants to be. No reason to really like look for more.
Yeah, and he's gonna pull this villager back here. That's pretty weak. If this was any other civilization that Liereyy was up against, he'd be more comfortable. But Hindustani scouts do quite a bit of damage against the walls here. So
MbL, I forgot about that bonus. Actually, it's pretty. Wait, he can break in with that bonus.
Yeah,
but Lierey's on the outside.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And MbL's now able to take a fight. And honestly, the scouts are going to get through it. I don't think this is what Liereyy wants at all.
Liereyy going in on that side is so surprising, by the way. Like, way too surprising. Scouts are in and getting at least 3 vills here. 2 of them are low. Liereyy just realizes that was a mistake, goes back, but wow.
Again, you got, if it's like Frank's, right? Those scouts just sit back there, and the walling there from Liereyy is really smart, but wow. MbL gets so much value against the army and against the villagers, and now advantage MbL, I think.
Yeah, big advantage. And Lierey's almost like screwed because his whole game plan of massing archers and getting crossbow is completely out the window. He's adapted and made a stable now, and he still has to deal with the army and the annoying skirmishes in his base. So his plan's out the window. His massive archers is pretty gone, and he lost 3 vills on top of all that.
And look at I like this patience too. He's like, you don't have a stable yet. I know it. I'm not gonna waste my scout HP. Just gonna be patient. And the longer the MbL stays here, the less likely it is that Lierey's going to be comfortable enough to counterattack. And again, really good micro from MbL there. Now he's going to use those scouts to get the hits and doesn't kill the Vill, but I'm still a big fan of his position.
No, and that's the correct way to do it, because now you still have your army. You still forced Liereyy completely off that wood line. And as you can see, like, the wood is quite a big problem for Liereyy. He's on the side of the tree heavily. The other wood line's not efficient. So tons of damage coming in, even if it's not in the form of more Vill kills.
Yeah, I think this is where I could potentially throw a game in MbL's position. It's like right now, you still want to get as much value as possible, but you're not walled, right? So you've got to make sure those walls are down, and then you have to get a good gauge on, is your opponent still going to be making archers or what? So it looks like it's going to be archers for Liereyy and then scouts, which could lead into knights.
Yeah. Well, the best thing to do in this position, if you're MbL, is realize that you got an economy advantage and just stay defensive at the start of Castle Age, not take any risks or not try to attack again and get more damage. So just stay at home and let Liereyy make the next move. That way you see what he's coming forward with. You're not overinvesting. You're not throwing the game. And we can see now Lierey's investing onto a second stable. He wants to play crossbows into knights or camels probably.
I think that was double trouble for Liereyy, and it was just bad timing. Hopping outside of the range was probably somewhat justifiable because MbL didn't have armor on the skirms. But at the same time, the scouts got in and he overforaged on the berries. So I think he was expecting to be able to just fight it easily without having to save vills at the same time. And the villagers just got too hungry.
Yeah, I need that last berry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess at the same time, you're taking some unnecessary risks jumping out the front. Like, what? That's like way too much confidence. Like, you want to fight archers for skirms, Like,
yeah.
Is that really what your game plan was? So, yeah, I see how it went wrong and what he was thinking, but I think it was just an unnecessary risk, and he definitely got punished from it. But now he is on the offense again with the crossbows. Looks like MbL's on 3 ranges, but he's not going skirm. He's actually going archers, which is really weird.
Yeah, MbL maybe struggling with the follow-up a little bit. But I think what you had said, Hera, is he did show up to meet Liereyy in the middle when I think he maybe just could have been patient, could have just waited, and kept his mass alive. Yeah, so he's got like a little bit more work for himself right now because of this. And this could actually lead to Liereyy having army control, and that's what MbL wanted to avoid this whole time. A good job from Liereyy here, taking advantage of this.
The crazy thing about Liereyy is that no matter what happens in the early game, he's just so confident with his army always.
It's amazing.
Like, even if he's got slightly less military, he's still going to attack you like he's winning the game. It's absolutely amazing.
His ability to spend res properly is so good. Like, if you look at his resource balance, it's almost always set up for the current army comp that he's making. Like right now, wheelbarrow coming in, but he's got like the wood upgrade. He's maxed out on crossbow. He's got knights in a high enough number to do damage. The timing on everything is perfect. And now MbL, it's like he wanted to go crossbowman thinking he would have more crossbowmen than Liereyy and that the knights wouldn't have upgrades. But he's lost so much control right now, and he's got to do damage control.
Yeah, and you might be thinking, if you're watching this, where's MbL's army? How come Liereyy has more army? Well, the thing is, MbL has 500 food in the bank. Lierey's been spending his res, and MbL is making some awkward transitions, and it forces him to float some res and not be as efficient with the allocation here. So now Liereyy, the result of it, gets 2 villagers, starts to kill some farms, and now MbL's on a really weird like crossbow 3 range with Hindustani. It just feels a little odd. I don't know how we necessarily got here.
Yeah, and if MbL loses this game, he's relegated. So just to add a little bit of extra pressure, you have to come back from this game, but then you have to win 2 straight after it. So good luck to you, MbL. Not so easy to do. But Lierey's just so smothering with his crossbow presence. As I say that, he makes a pretty big mistake there, but...
Yeah, that's a Castus curse.
Yeah, dude.
He's great until he's not.
in the game against Yo on Acropolis, I was like, oh my god, like, Lierey's incredible. His crossbow control. And then immediately 8 Arbalest right into a castle.
Oh, yes. No, it was 8 crossbows. He loses them, then he gets Arbalest. Yeah. You know, perfect timing.
It was even worse. Yeah.
That was so funny, man.
Yeah.
This is some quality laughs from the games I was watching today. Like it was a good time.
Yeah, well, MbL kind of stabilizes now. He's got 14 crossbows. Beauty of Hindustanis is if you run into a rough patch, you've got cheap villagers, right? So he has the villager lead now, and I like the fact that he's producing out of all of his ranges now. Hera, I don't know if you use this, but if you go to capture ages, MbL clears up the knights. Very weird fight for Liereyy to take there. I'm confused. But if you click a building, you can click above the HP where the little clock is, and it toggles to a page that shows the efficiency of whatever building or unit. And I like to look at that because, like, that can be in Archer plays, for example, that can really show you the difference between 2 players with army production. So MbL, as a whole, has done a pretty good job ever since a few moments ago to keep his range moving. And for Liereyy, it's just like one range. That one range has been producing 87% of the time. So he doesn't really need... Well, then the second range, 98% of the time. Like, he's always producing army. It's so sick.
Yeah, instead of wasting wood on a third range.
Yep.
You know, not saying MbL was wasting it, but like other players might. And, you know, he's just going for a very efficient 2 range. By the way, MbL does have ballistics in right now. So his army, in theory, is stronger than Lierey's. But, of course, the micro plays a really big factor. Liereyy proficient with that one.
And Liereyy also has thumb ring, so it's been interesting to see thumb ring no ballistics versus ballistics no thumb ring, and it's pretty close so far, but I think MbL's numbers are going to make the difference here.
And this is not what's supposed to happen, guys. If you're at home watching this, just pick up ballistics. You're going to land your shots. This is crazy from Liereyy. Just moving back and forth, dodging ballistics, and getting so much value with thumb ring. There's not any player in the world that does it like Liereyy. Yeah, he's the best at this.
And now MbL's like, I guess I'll just complete this TC and hope it works. It's just, this is just stupid, dude. And, you know, thumb ring obviously helps, but it's the timing on the opponent's volleys that really is the most difficult thing about what Lierey's just done.
That was crazy.
That was played,
super impressive, man. Yeah, well played. Wins the fight, gets a few villagers, and then, well, whether he runs away or not, it's irrelevant. I mean, he got so much value from those crossbows. MbL is still 8 vills up, though, so it's not the worst for him.
Yeah, and you know, Liereyy maybe best crossbow player in the world. MbL best mangonel player in the world. I'd like to see a siege workshop here. It feels like both players could desperately use some siege to help out here.
It gets a lot more tricky to micro like this when there's siege, because then, you know, you're focused on the timing of the shot of the siege weapon.
Yeah.
So you're not timing the crossbow shots as much, and it gets a lot more awkward. So if MbL can get a siege workshop, which he can definitely afford, and, you know, continue booming, he's not in the worst position ever. This game is still close. Liereyy adds a third town center at the back, and he's also adding a university at the same time. A little bit too much from Liereyy at once here. He should have prioritized the siege or the town center or the university, maybe 2 out of 3. He's doing all 3 at once, and that's going to be slightly inefficient.
Well, now MbL's not adding siege at all, right? No thumb ring. I'm a little concerned for MbL. I remember this was like 3 years ago now, but sometimes there's bits and pieces I pick up from players, and MbL, one of those, you know, the rare times he does like a little coaching, you know, comment. He was like, if I see siege workshop from my opponent, I add my own siege workshop. And ever since I've been like, that's not always the case, right? But that does make sense, especially in a situation like this. So it took him a while here. He had 600 wood when he completed the TC. Now he adds the siege workshop, and now that TC is almost down. So he's really got to make sure his shots land here.
Yeah, he's got that siege workshop behind his town center. His town center still has a good amount of HP on. It's always easier to be the defender with the siege workshop fight, with the Magno fight. However, you get more reward as the aggressor. So, you know, risk reward is definitely interesting. Castle comes through. Now he needs this section, or needs this area to be secured.
Yeah, I didn't realize actually that he was banking up so much stone. So that's probably what he was banking on initially to protect this position. Lierey's got full crossbow upgrades in Castle Age. Ooh.
Ooh, takes a shot though, yeah.
Yeah, that's what Siege could do, right? Yeah, you can only dance for so long, I guess, when you have everything else to look at. So, MbL alive. MbL still is the eco lead. I'd love to see him keep this TC up. And if you could make Golems in the middle of the map, suddenly like committing all that towards crossbowman is going to look a little awkward there for Liereyy.
Yeah, Gulams is a game changer here, to be honest. And like MbL's economy, not even that bad. It looks like he's been getting like kind of destroyed in all the fights. He's been a consistent 10-15 bills up, and that really adds up. Let's see the siege micro here. Liereyy ends up getting the better of MbL that one, but it was 2 versus 1, and the TC could go down here.
A great job from Liereyy. I know what I'd be worried about if I'm MbL. If I lose this TC, there's no reason for Liereyy to stay here anymore, and he should just go directly to MbL's base. And that would be concerning because you're sending Golems, your best unit now, kind of home, I guess. But then again, I guess Lierey's got to respect the fact that Golems could raid too. It's really tricky.
The thing is, MbL is still up 15 vills, so I don't think it's the worst thing to stay on defense. And you could bait Liereyy into overstaying and then, you know, capitalize with the Gulams. I don't agree with wasting the Gulams like this one at a time, though.
Yeah,
you're not achieving anything like that. That's terrible, right?
I do like the 3 Golems to the eco of Liereyy. Like, I understand that you might get countered by Knights, but that makes it more difficult for Liereyy to push forward. So maybe the timing there for MbL wasn't perfect. Because if he sends in 3 now, the Mangoes are kind of on their own, for example.
Yeah.
But MbL is going to go tower defense. I actually don't hate this because he does need some way to defend himself as he focuses on the Golems in the middle. But still taking some bad fights here. Knights are really good against Golems. Golems are just melee unit you want to make against archers.
Yeah, and we saw Liereyy kind of not panic, but rush rather to drop a stable. He's now on 3 stables, so Knight's going to be pretty easy to get on the map for him. He also has a pretty good economy for Knights with you know, a good amount of food and wood. Food and gold. 4 Mangonel push on the ranges. MbL could take his time. Those ranges are pretty useless for the time being. He was on Skirm for a while, but I don't think he needs Skirms anymore, right? You're on Gulam to counter the archers anyways.
I think it was like a panic move. He wasn't sure. Now he's got the Golems. And MbL, I like this. He's like, fine, take my base. I'll just take the hill, bro. Let's go. Drops the castle on the hill. Liereyy doesn't have army here right now. He's going to have a knight or 2 coming in. But I'm not sure if he could deny this or not.
Oh, it's a counter castle. Oh my god, this is the game one way or another. I don't know what's going to happen here, but Lierey's committing 100% to stop this.
Yeah, and I mean, Lierey's will go up first, and Lierey's got crossbowman, and he's got siege. So if Liereyy could just focus down the vills enough. Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, it's a tragedy. Oh, the attack around the Gulams. You can't be that good at the fights, man.
Dang.
That was crazy, bro.
See what MbL was thinking, right?
Yep.
But now it'd almost be better for him to have 2 castles, and had that castle been safe, then he would have even more Golem production. Just crazy plays from Liereyy. I loved how fast he came up that hill with a very slow army in crossbowman and Mangonel. It was almost immediate. Yeah. And the immediate reaction as well, the counter castle was beautiful.
And that's that decision making we're always talking about, you know? He could have stayed at MbL's base, but he recognized that this was a situation that needed addressing.
Yep.
MbL, where's he getting the resources from? Somehow he's up to Imp now? I mean...
Just Hindustani things?
Yeah, like he's tried so many different things, and I feel like everything has failed so far, but he's still winning with economy. It's kind of crazy.
But I mean, he's got so many different areas to look at. He's just lost quite a few vills in that TC. And Imp with Hindustanis, you've got a lot of great options. I just don't know if MbL can afford any of those options. He won't be able to get Elite Golem. He won't really even be able to make many Trebs. And if he does, I don't even know where he goes with the Trebs because he can't get support for them. And
you know, to be honest, and this might be a bit of hindsight bias, but if MbL just made the castle at a safe location, went up to Imp, and just got Trebs and Gulam, isn't that just such a better approach than trying what he did?
Yeah, it is, but my game sense in that moment when he went forward was Lierey's out of position. This is an amazing castle. Like I really, I feel like 8 times out of 10, let's say, that castle goes up. The issue for me was he didn't have a couple Golems, which could have come down to wasting army early. And then also he didn't have enough vills. You got to have, if you're doing that type of castle next to their economy, you have to have like at least 12 vills, I think. And I think he only had like 8.
Yeah, it gave too much time for Liereyy to react.
Yeah.
Now he's dropping a town center. What makes this map tricky, guys, is that the middle area, or like, at least like most of the middle area, it's full of little hills, so you can't make town centers, and that's why that town center is coming at such an awkward area for MbL. Bill's still dropping pretty fast here. The Knight crossbow combination with the Mangonels behind, incredibly powerful for Castle Age.
Yep, and Lierey's going to go all in Castle Age here. And I honestly like the decision. He knows it's probably going to be Golems and Trebs, but we saw before that Golems aren't that good when there's some knights on the field and MbL won't be able to afford elite. So again, just great game sense from Liereyy and great value. He somehow gets away with his mangonels again. But
yeah, the threat of the attack round is pretty deadly, eh? Like the threat of getting an attack round makes the guy with the melee unit just so hesitant to run in. I've lost the game to Liereyy in the grand melee to that. I actually got attack round on my camels and lost like the fight right after.
I wonder how this game would have gone if MbL wouldn't have lost that TC on top of the hill. Like if you went Siege Workshop first, like the typical like Siege, maybe a monastery in case Liereyy sends in knights, just doesn't rush to imp as fast. Again, as you said, like hindsight is it's so easy to say what someone could, should, or would have done, but now MbL's got to live with this position. And again, I'm surprised. It has felt bad for him, but he still somehow has 110 vills. He's got 2 castles. He's starting to wall in his trebs. He's got 12 Ghoulems. He could definitely do this.
You know what it is? Dude, this game is really puzzling to me, but I'm replaying it in my head. Initially, MbL was the guy who killed 3 vills. So Liereyy going all in, or not all in, but heavy military, even though he was taking good trades, MbL was so far ahead at that point economically, and that's why even though we saw a lot of bad trades for MbL, he's still in a somewhat decent position. And you know what? This game is far from over. He's double castle trebbing, excuse me, Lierey's castle, and who knows what's going to happen from here. I mean, Liereyy doesn't have the best economy either, right?
Yeah, and what MbL can do, and it's so good in this type of situation, is the second you take down a castle from Liereyy, you mass your army, take that position, and drop your own castle. Just keep snowballing the trebs and castles. I know raiding is something that MbL is going to feel like he can do right now, but I think that the killer castle in the middle of the hill there would be so much more important than tossing away Ghoulems.
I agree. This isn't Arabia where you get one hill, the other guy gets another. This is like there's just one hill at the middle of the map. And if you can force your opponent, especially Liereyy, who's got all his farms there, or most of his farms there, you can just focus that area. You're going to be fine. And MbL is going for the raids. Let's see if it pays off. Liereyy does have a castle in his base. Remember, he does have ballistics and bodkin, so pretty strong castle there. I don't know if it's going to pay off. Let's see if MbL will commit to it or not.
Liereyy must be thinking, where's this guy taking gold? Like, seriously, I had him stuck in the corner. I know he doesn't have gold in the hill anymore, and he's going to find the gold on the back.
Yeah.
And this is just amazing play from Liereyy. The game sense and the poise to find that position when everything else is happening in the middle of your base is crazy. And also the castle at home kind of kept MbL away, and MbL's Ghoulems, they're still going to run through, but I don't know if they're going to find the value there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, 9 out of 10 players just keep those knights at home. Just defend. And Lierey's just so active on the map. He's finding so much value with them, and he's going Cavalier right now. So you might be thinking Cavalier versus Hindustani doesn't make sense because they're camel civ, but there's no camels on the field right now. So Cavalier's going to come in clutch. That being said, though, a lot of Ghoulems and the potential for that forward castle. MbL has to capitalize right now, though. He's falling behind in pop. Where is it going to be? You got to pick your location here.
Yeah, I think you got to get the castle down and force fights before Cavalier's in, right? Or maybe a defensive castle, which would maybe be buying Liereyy a bit of time. And that raid from Liereyy, he's got knights everywhere. He killed so many villagers over the last couple of minutes. Just so good. Look at the micro even, Hera. Like, that knight that was on the gold, he just pulled it away. So he's just going to sit it there and bring it back. It's crazy. MbL won't see that.
2 minutes later, it's back again. Yeah, it's crazy.
He does lose his
MbL's
TC,
desperate for gold.
and he lost his castle. But now he's got Cavalier with armor and decent attack upgrades. And now MbL's trebs are in trouble. And suddenly the Ghoulems aren't looking like that good of a unit anymore.
Yep. You have 2 choices here. You either double down on Ghoulems or you switch the camels, and it looks like he's going to go for the latter. Heavy camel on the way, dropping down some stables. The Ghoulems are okay versus Cav, only if you fight near your castles.
Yep.
You definitely do not want to be fighting an equal playing field fight. The Cavalier will shred them.
It seems like Lierey's like, oh, okay, so you're tech switching to camels. Great, I'm just going to kill you everywhere else before you can do that. The sneaky Cavalier, by the way, back to the gold. He's going to have a couple friends show up. MbL's making a castle here, so that could actually be denied. And then there's Cavalier running into the main eco as well. It's so good from Liereyy. He's playing so amazing.
I even spotted one Cavalier just shredding vills in MbL's economy as well. Like, dude, Lierey's everywhere. He's even picking relics on top of this. He's got one and the second one coming in. Castle on the right is denied. MbL could have gotten that a little earlier, so a bit sloppy there from him, maybe. Hanging on to that stone too long. He does have a heavy camo now, but things fell apart quite a lot. Now Lierey's on 200 pop. Lierey's picking up the relics, and is also switching into Halberdier potentially.
And Liereyy just mass deleted some vills. I got scared because I heard things dying, but he just wants more pop space. Man, Liereyy, I'm telling you, man, he has looked. This is now. I wasn't at Grand Melee, right? I saw some of the games, but I didn't get the caster feel, to really get like that vibe. I obviously played quite well to go up against you in the finals and whatnot, but Lierey's looking incredible today. Like his games against Yo. Look at how fast some of these blacksmith upgrades are going to come in. He's going to be fully upgraded on blacksmith upgrades, getting relics, expanding eco. Lost his castle in the middle of the freaking map, and he's just been waiting. Like MbL still can't push because Lierey's all over him. This guy's a beast right now.
And he's in really good shape. I mean, it might be a little bit of a hot take, and everyone I know has their own opinion of this, but I personally think that Lierey's the best player in the world right now. And I don't even think it has to do with like a certain performance results or just his shape overall. I just feel like he's been playing at such a high level, and it feels really difficult to play against him as a player. But I will say he doesn't play his 100% in every round of the tournament because he's not a full-time like streamer and such. He doesn't always practice for the early rounds.
Yeah.
So you see peak Liereyy in the late rounds of the group stage and in the playoff stage, and especially towards the semis and the finals. So,
well, that's why I'm freaking out, right? Because this is group stage, right? He's already going through the playoffs, and maybe the first week or two, I lost a game against Backed, for example. Players that you might not expect him to lose to, but this is still group stage, right? This feels like a semi-final Liereyy level to me, and obviously that's coming up this week. But man, I've just been so impressed with him. There's been so many times over the years. We've all known Lierey's potential. These guys been at the top since 2017. But there's just been so many times over the years where I'm like, oh, Liereyy, dude, get relics, bro. Like, dude, stop making the same unit tech switch, and it's just like, he wouldn't do it. But this game is just, I mean, unfortunately, going to knock out a good friend of his and a good friend of ours in MbL. But he just wrecked him. So smooth.
And to be honest, like, it's fun to see people before the set talking about like, okay, Lierey's going to take it easy. It's his friend, it's a teammate. When it comes to competition, we all know what's at stake, and it obviously sucks to go up against your friend, but we always just go 100%. It's just there's no other way to do it. So yeah, Liereyy has something at stake here. He's playing for that. MbL obviously playing for what's at stake for him, and I think MbL is hanging on to this game because of what's at stake as well. It's looking pretty rough, but it's hard to resign when you know what that means,
Yeah, it's emotional moment for MbL, and then could possibly affect his performances a little bit in game 2, game 3, because he doesn't have a lot to fight for beyond the $40 a game, obviously, and a bit of pride, which is all obviously important. But dude, that game, like, it was looking like the perfect start for Liereyy. He's got his walls down in feudal. He's sitting pretty. All of a sudden, he loses all of his archers. He loses 4 villagers, and I'm like, holy crap, am I watching my recorded games, or am I watching Liereyy? And then he brought it back. It was so good.
Yeah, brilliant game from both players. I don't even think MbL played bad this game. I don't even think Liereyy played bad. I think it was a mix of both. Both players made mistakes. Both players made good plays, good transitions. And I honestly feel if I had to pin one moment, we obviously know where Liereyy went wrong in the early game. If I had to pin one moment where I think MbL kind of through the game, throw is the wrong word, but kind of like the game slipped from his grasp a little bit, was when he went for that forward castle when he had such a big build lead. If you just have a little bit more confidence, you're getting pushed, the castle can go at home or to secure more gold. This map is about gold. Secure the gold, secure some wood, and then all of a sudden, like, you got a faster imp, you've got the Gulams, you've got 10 extra builds and an extra castle.
Yeah.
The game is completely different.
And I think, even before that point, and again, it's not a throw, it's just letting the game slip out of your grasp, but he had 3 ranges. He had just killed a bunch of archers in early castle. And he sees Lierey's in Castle Age, and instead of keeping all those units garrisoned in his ranges and just waiting, he ran out with 10 units, right? And it felt like those 10 units, if those 10 units were upgraded and at home, means that Liereyy never breaks into his base, and Liereyy doesn't pressure him as much. And remember, MbL had a massive vill lead even after he received that pressure. So if he would have kept his army alive, held that mass, I think he could have had maybe a 30 villager lead, and then the rest of the game becomes easier. But those are the things, like, you got to make consistent decisions under pressure. Kilimanjaro especially is just not a map that, we see a lot, and it's very much unlike Arabia in that you have to prioritize map control, I think, a little bit more these days. Like, I know Arabia is still map control, but even more so in Kilimanjaro, you need to have army. And it just slipped for MbL. He lost 138 villagers in that game and killed 12.
Wow, that's a stat right there. That's a stat right there.
What do you think about the TTL Arabia? There's been so many different versions of Arabia over the years, right? Both on the ladder, but also in different tournaments. What are your thoughts? And you can
Unfortunately,
say
I
you don't like
didn't.
it, by the way. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah, no, totally. I'm gonna give honest feedback. It's the benefit of me too as a player. But I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen that much of TTL Arabia because they always ban it versus me. So
Ah,
I don't think I've ever played it actually.
okay. Well,
Um,
I'll tell you what we
yeah.
kind of aimed for.
Okay.
We aimed for you needing more map control to control long-term goals. And
Okay.
basically what we've done is it's not like King of the Desert where there's like a bunch of tiny little nerdy 1 or 2 tile hills.
Yeah.
You normally have like one hill on either side, which is pretty large that you might want to lock down. So like you look at Lierey's base, for example, as again, he changes his freaking color every single time.
I hate that. Yeah,
It's
there
the
should be a rule in
worst.
tournament just for him. Yeah.
Whenever the next hidden cup comes, though, that is a tell, 100%.
Yeah, the guy who's changing colors like a maniac every game. And it's win or lose, by the way. It's not like if he loses, he's gonna, oh, okay, I'll switch it up. It's
I
win
know.
or lose. It's random almost.
But
Funny
okay,
stuff.
like look at Lierey's main gold, right? Lierey's main
Yeah.
gold is great, you love it. But then look at his other golds, all underneath
I
hills.
see.
And then you got
Yeah.
MbL, like main gold's completely fine, stone, and then all of a sudden you don't control a couple of these hills, you don't have other resources.
Yeah.
So it's like it's definitely more punishing if you go for the TC style, which a lot of people do. But I've quite liked it because it brings that more of that classic Arabia feel. Because if you remember the old AOC Arabia, we're talking ponds and wood lines and all types of
Yes.
crap. But that was like 7 tile hills consistently. And sometimes it's like a massive hill right next to all your golds, right? So it just kind of combines the safe eco wall approach and also the need for aggression.
Yeah, so now that we're talking about it, I actually do remember I casted a game with you the other time as well on Arabia. So I think this is the second time I see this map. But I do like the approach in general. The one thing I don't really like though is that it seems with modern day Arabia gens, because we want to go for fair maps, it's always the same formula for every single generation, and that's, in my opinion, a bad thing. Arabia should have like 5 to 6 different types of generations, and like different styles of generations.
Okay.
So I think if you can mix a little bit more like only one woodline maps in the script, that would be a lot better long term. If Arabia always spawns with 3 woodlines, people would just prepare a strategy that lets them full wall, and then they can figure out how to control the golds later. But if you can throw them off with sometimes having like less wood, as long as you make it the same for both players, it's fair. So that's
Okay.
kind of my take on it.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I mean, the ladder, for example, has different versions, which I kind of like right now. Like, I'm not
Yes.
the biggest fan of all the generations we get on the ranked ladder, but sometimes you'll have massive woodlines, easy wall. Other times you'll have tiny woodlines and it's impossible to wall. So you kind of mean like that, I guess. Like a bit of a mix.
Exactly.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like that we're going away from KOTD Arabia. I really don't like that style of map where it's all about like aggression in Castle Age, and like it's all about market timings. That's
Yeah.
not what Arabia should be. Arabia should be a balanced map. It's not an aggressive all-in map. It's sometimes this, sometimes that, and
Yeah.
sometimes a mix of both. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the feedback there. But
Okay.
in this particular game, both players have a pretty average map. So yeah,
Okay,
so
I was just curious. I figured we'd have time to talk about it. We've
100%.
talked through Arabia Dark Ages a lot, so we can now talk about the civs. MbL picked Berbers, which I don't remember what else was on his draft, but it does surprise me a little bit. I don't think in a play all 3 that Berbers has oftentimes been prioritized in those 3 games.
He had mines.
Yeah, right. Like he had Mayans, so maybe we're expecting Mayans, but maybe also MbL knows or feels like it doesn't matter as much because he's already knocked out and wants to try something different here.
I mean, I do think that Berbers is also a comfort pick for MbL, and Lierey's expecting Mayan. So sometimes in a tournament, you can just like delay your best civ for your second best and potentially surprise your opponent. And Liereyy knows how to play Britain Mayans, but does Liereyy know how to play Britain Berber as well? Something like that could be what was on MbL's mind. I don't hate it personally, and especially in his hands, Berbers are pretty solid. He really likes to play them.
Yeah, that's true. MbL was, well, I think it was more of an AM thing actually. I don't think MbL was the first person to start making Genitors in your clan. I think you and Liereyy had like schemed it for Red Bull 3 or something.
on one map. That's true. How do you remember that? It's crazy. I forgot about that.
Bro, I remember you playing an Arabia game on the Wolfpack clan against Fiage in 2015 when
Yeah,
you were on a
remember that game
Smurf account.
too.
You weren't even on.
Yes.
You were in Hera. I remember weird things, but but like but like MbL does like counter style, so maybe
Yes.
cheap knights for raids and then genitors could be seen here. But he also likes his walls, and holy crap, he's walled quite a bit of the map so far.
Yeah, the thing is, you're going up against someone like Liereyy. He is like the best player at taking advantage of someone walling up early. But walling up early used to be overpowered. Since then, there's been a lot of changes to the walls and the price of them that has made it, and it's a great change by the way. It has made it not correct to full wall too early. Now MbL isn't like completely going crazy with it. It's just a couple layers here, but in general, you don't want to full wall too early. Liereyy is the kind of guy that will punish you if you do. So let's see what Liereyy can go for. He's on 18 pop 1 range, by the way. Really sharp build.
Yeah.
Britons.
MbL.
Wait, he has no mill. Sorry, he has no mill. He went mining camp first. That's crazy.
Did you see Nikov's build versus Vinchester with Lithuanians?
I casted that game, but I don't remember. What was it about?
It was 18 pop man at arm 1 range. Lithuanians versus Mayans.
Did he win? Oh, he lost that game.
He lost the game. It was
didn't
insane.
see the-
I don't know how
yeah.
Vinchester ever won that game. Like, it was just insane. But yeah, the build was nuts. Like, I think it is actually one of the best build orders that no one's doing on a consistent basis right now on Arabia. But we could maybe talk more about that later. But the timing was just unbelievable, and it kind of incorporated this skipping the mill strategy, which Lierey's done. And for Liereyy, I like it because he's opened with the range faster. His eco's still looking good. But I also love MbL's decision to just go for a counter play, and he's going to add skirms at home, it looks like.
And what's crazy here is that Liereyy he's really thought this through. He's now going with the mill, and he's got 6 vills on berries instead of the standard 4. So he's late to berries, but he's gonna grab them with more villagers, which lets him finish taking them at around the same time you'd expect. So really cool stuff. Really thinking through his builds. Also just taking the time to wall up at home now. So Lierey's gonna go for a few archers to pressure and then stay safe at home. MbL with the skirm defense should be totally fine to defend this.
Yeah, MbL's gonna wall the corner. And he knows exactly what's coming, so he's just waiting. And that's a nice hit there from the Spearman. Always valuable for the Archer player's scout. Or always valuable for the Skirmisher player, for the Archer player to have a weaker scout. And Lierey's going to try and get value from the scout. But yeah, nice micro here from MbL. I'm really liking it.
Skirm and the Archer. Keep the spear alive. You just want to prevent the scout from running into your skirm pretty much. And to be fair, MbL doesn't need to even chase this away. He just needs to stay safe at home. Whenever you make skirms like this, you're not going to kill your opponent in Feudal Age because your unit is pretty much just a defensive one. But as long as you take 0 damage, you're somewhat happy with it.
Remember the stakes here, guys. If Liereyy 3-0s, he surpasses Yo in the group and gets a bye to a quarterfinal. If MbL gets 1 win here, even though he is still relegated himself, he would put Liereyy in his 2nd place position. So this is unfortunately for MbL, just a situation where he's putting some extra money in his pocket if he gets wins and changes Lierey's position, but he is mathematically out. He cannot stay in Platinum League for the next season, which is still pretty crazy to me to say.
Yeah. Yeah, and the most brutal part about all that is that MbL had to play 2 series today, one against Bacti and one against Liereyy, and unfortunately the Bacti one didn't go his way, and neither is this one. So it was a day full of potential, and that kind of crumbled. But that's the way sometimes it goes with competition. But I will say for MbL, this could be a good opportunity for him to just bounce back for future tournaments, take his time to rebuild, because sometimes you need to fall a little bit to really pick yourself back up. So I'm sure he'll climb out of it.
Yeah, I've been falling for the last 7 years, so I'm just waiting for my bounce back.
Yeah, your time is coming, bro. Like, you took a game off me in the tournaments. We're not going to talk about how you did take a game off me.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is I said I can't out micro Hera, but I can out chat Hera. So I was like, this is my strat. So in Dark Age I was saying that, but I didn't know you deleted your TC.
And if you noticed in the second game and the third game, I didn't chat at all. I was terrified of deleting my TC again.
And I didn't want to say something because I figured like that would be kind of mean, you know, if I kept talking. But I so badly wanted to talk, of course. So,
dude, it would have been so funny because like it's not your fault. It's not like you're doing anything. You're just typing. I'm the guy deleting my town centers, you know. That was a good time. Yeah,
I'll take it.
It's funny because after I deleted my TC, I tried to come back into the game, but it was just like a disaster.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I died to that strat. The exact strat I did. I was playing Britons and Golden Swamp in Titans League Silver.
Oh yeah, you told me about that. Yeah, that's true.
The build order that the other guy had gone for was completely open, like 22 pop, YOLO'd on the Golden Stone. I killed 3 vills. I died anyways. So I was a little bummed because when I found out you deleted the town center, I had thought, wow, this strategy's broken. And I'm so smart of me to have tried this, you know? So I kind of wish I would have been able to see that play out because I think you would have gone FC if I had to guess.
I was gonna go. I mean, I was gonna do something similar. I think I'd just be like obviously much faster. I would have probably went for a couple water units, get the fish, and then it's either Jans or Lightcav control the map with Boom.
Yeah.
But you could have definitely won that game had I not deleted the TC as well. Like, it's are scary. Like, I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, it's pretty busted because like ships can't counter them, right? And monks are tough to get to. But the only thing that really happened here in this game so far is MbL's defended very nicely. And the only negative for MbL is that he lost his scout. But, you know, honestly, MbL didn't invest into fletching. Neither did Liereyy. He's got his walls down. He did have to use the market to go up, though. And he's going to be dropping stables now. So I think for MbL, there's a slight chance we see a lead skirm. But more than anything, it looks like he's going to be going knights.
Yeah, these are the hardest games to play, by the way. People think that sometimes when it's an aggressive play or when it's an aggressive game, you know, you got to be really sharp, and that's the hardest game to play. But right now, there's so little in it that it's going to come down to the small decisions here that dictate who wins and loses this. And MbL has made a pretty big decision to sell his stone and go for the push. Not a bad one at all. We just have to see if it's going to pay off for him. Liereyy keeps his stone and adds a stable. She's going to be playing crossbow plus 1 stable to defend this. So 2 completely different situations, but both players will not contest the map. And we'll see how it plays out here. Liereyy has 2 villas going forward as well. So by the looks of things, not sure what for though.
I think does he want to TC the hill maybe?
I thought that, but like 2 villas only. It's a little ambitious. Maybe a monastery.
Yeah. Well,
why outside?
He honestly might just want to make houses up here because it's a big hill and MbL loves forward siege. So he's like, let me just keep it here. But you know, honestly, I'll be curious to see the timing here because for MbL, he is actually walking forward to get a siege workshop up. But MbL's not going elite skirm at all. He's not even trying it. Not even fletching.
This is weird. This is weird. I'll tell you why. Like versus any civ, siege workshop's fine. Versus Britons, you get outranged with the siege. If anything, elite skirmisher is what you want. So you can actually go in.
And definitely
choice there from MB.
I mean, he wasn't expecting the scouts. Credit to Liereyy for adding the scouts against the skirms, but even with fletching, you could have maybe got a kill or 2 here, right? Like you really shouldn't get many kills with the skirms. Liereyy does fall back. He is going to add the monastery now. He'll have crossbow, he'll have bodkin, and for MbL, he's all in. He sold his stone. So if the early wave of knights isn't doing it, it's going to be looking more and more problematic for him.
Look at Lierey's resources. Nothing. He's got enough. Everything is on the field. This is like, when I'm doing coaching and I'm trying to help people get better, this is the perfect example of what optimal AoE2 play looks like. And right here, Liereyy spent all his resources with all the right units on the field and completely defended the push before he even came from MbL. And now MbL's got a tough time. I mean, what do you go for? You lost your skirm mass, you're on only knights, but no siege push.
Yeah, but it's also, the reason it's perfect is it's spending your res all the time, tech switching into what you need, so like monks, for example, the scouts, but also pushing forward with a purpose when necessary. Like right there, a lot of players, after they defend the initial attack, just sit at home with Britons. I do that crap all the time. I'm like, I have cheap TCs that can't die, you know? And then suddenly, you know, there's 15 knights that break through a wood line, or, you know, I'm reacting all of a sudden. So, fun fact, by the way, Lierey's only, I'm trying to remember now. Okay, his loss against Bact, he was Britons. Versus Mayans, which is normally pretty good for the Britons, right? And the issue for him was actually exactly that. He didn't continue to push. He went 3 TCs, and then there were just raids running all around the map, and he could never get control again. So
MbL hasn't deleted his Siege Workshop Foundation, by the way. Like, he's 200 wood down.
MbL.
That's a big deal, man.
Yeah, it's not like he's floating lots of wood or has a lot on wood right now either.
Yeah, and he added a 3rd stable as well. So, I mean, there's a chance where Lycav and Knights could do it. The thing is, you're basically running the most predictable army composition in the game right now. You're literally Berbers going all in, and your opponent knows that you're on cavalry.
Yep.
So maybe the Lycav might be the surprise factor to snipe the monks, but Liereyy knows exactly what's coming, and I think Liereyy would just pick up a couple relics and then just wait to defend near his town center.
Yep.
I'll also say Liereyy didn't add his third TC yet in favor of adding a few more monks to stay safe. Really smart play there.
I love his third TC spot, and I think this is more beneficial on an Arabia like this, as we talked about, where you might need a defensive castle on a hill, right? Yep. It's not a bad thing in general to TC the stone with your third TC, but I think a lot of the times in your more standard games, you're going to TC a stone in a wood, take wood primarily until you're at about 60 bills, then trickle some more on the stone. But like here, he's really prioritizing that. And here comes MbL. It's a lot of crossbows and monks from Liereyy.
Sees the Lycav as well. MbL did delete the Siege Workshop Foundation, so he's going to make it a bit more of a safe location.
Yep.
And yeah, just to echo what you said there, like getting a castle for Liereyy here would just be a completely game-ending move. So if you can get on the stone, even if it's just a little bit for now, it just puts MbL on a timer. But that being said, Lierey's actually switching to pikemen. 3 barrack pike switch, trying to counter the full cavalry here. What do you think about the pike switch here?
At 50 vils, I think it's awkward. It is really hard to afford pikemen with upgrades at this stage and villagers out of your TCs. I don't think it's bad, but I think it's awkward, and I think it gives MbL an opportunity. I do not like the ram idea from MbL, however. I think you've got a hill, you've got crossbows, and you've got the potential of pikemen. Like, at least make sure that your siege can benefit up against the TC, but also the units here.
But then again, like Mangonels versus Britain crossbows, Lierey's Britain crossbows.
True.
I also don't like the Rams either, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I don't see Mangonels doing much.
Well, I mean, it's kind of back to what we'd said in the previous game, too. It's like Lierey's micro was incredible. All of a sudden, he's got enemy army, and he's got the siege to worry about, and he's still human and prone to make some mistakes, possibly.
Yeah. You could catch him for sure. Let's see. I mean, we're going with 2 Rams, maybe wait for the third, but, MbL's trying to look for it here. Lycav needs to snipe the monks. There is a few pikes on the field as well. Lierey's going for the conversions on the knights. Lycav go in.
The massive army. I mean, Lycav help, right? The monks go down. Liereyy gets probably the amount of conversions that he was hoping for. I think he converted with every single one. Villagers now are going for the Rams. Lierey's running away. He doesn't have the hill anymore. He doesn't really have that big of a Vil lead either, but his crossbow micro, Hera, has been so good here. I'm very impressed.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, imagine if you had 2 Mangonels. Actually, your attack rounding there, right?
Yeah, it'd be huge. The whole situation's different.
Yeah, kind of what you're looking for here. But nonetheless, good play from MbL. I think he will actually end up winning this one. At least the fight. The TC will probably go down to the Rams.
Yeah. Crazy all in. MbL just said, screw it, man. Like, also, you got to think, like, Britons, especially with Liereyy, the longer the game goes, the better the Britons feel. So go for a lot of kills. He's now denied that gold from Liereyy. Liereyy, also, he's had crazy amounts of idle TC time because he tried that pikeman switch.
Yep.
So MbL actually has the villager lead right now.
I think the biggest mistake from Liereyy there was being out on the map like that. I think sometimes you have to give up that 1 TC and just stay behind your walls. Like, he was on purpose in front of his walls when you know the push is coming. So a little bit risky there, but he is switching to full pikes now. No more crossbows being made. And now it's maybe the time for MbL to start adding in a different unit. Maybe some monks to convert to pikes. Or you could just try to kill the barracks before the pike numbers kind of, pile up.
I like the Scorpions now. 1 Mangonel is great. You still got Rams that could have an effect. But I absolutely love the Scorpion play. And how many times do we have to say it, Hera? Knights, they 1v1 a pikeman. Yes, pikemen are good, like, in terms of your long term, because you're not spending gold. But Knights still have more killing power. And Liereyy is really struggling. As he loses a barracks, he'll add another barracks, and another barracks, and another barracks. I'd love to see MbL just have, like, 3-4 Scorpions and just be happy with this position you've gained yourself. Make sure you don't lose many more Knights. That's good from Liereyy. But if you take this forward position, you can boom up at home.
Yeah, exactly. I think you start adding town centers to MbL right now. You don't necessarily need to continue all in this one. And I think he's added 100 stone. I think he's bought 100 stone. So maybe a town center could be thrown in. Liereyy needs a monastery, though, like a second monastery at home. Pikes alone aren't going to do it because...
there's 3 relics in this one. I didn't realize.
He really wants that monastery, actually.
Yeah, MbL, you really got to take the monastery out here, though.
True.
Because there could be monks in there that can convert more knights and take out your siege. And here comes Liereyy, more pikemen up the hill. But he's taking the fight.
It's tough. I think MbL wins this one, actually. So look at that. The knights on the hill with the scorpion behind, looking pretty solid. Not the worst trade for Liereyy ever, but that's another fight win for MbL, who's piling on the pressure with more knights.
I feel like this right here is every Britain game I've ever played. I feel like the same thing happens. I'm on the TCs. I have 20 crossbows with monks. That should work, and I still get overrun by all-in knights. It's really tricky, and I don't personally have the answer to it, so it makes me feel better about the fact that Liereyy didn't have the answer to it so far in this game.
Yeah, it's always tricky, especially a Berber knight all-in. Like, it's predictable, but it's powerful, and Liereyy knew exactly what was coming. He didn't get surprised, but he might have got surprised by how much MbL was able to field. I will say though, MbL's light calf play was incredibly smart.
Yeah,
that was really important. You gotta step those monks, because if you don't, they get value on the next rotation once the monk juice comes back, once the conversion, the faith comes back for them.
Yeah, and MbL just continues to sit on the hill. Liereyy is waiting with 2 of his own knights. I like this. He wants to snipe the scorpions, because if he takes the scorpions out, MbL's losing a lot of knights in the back now, and suddenly, maybe Liereyy could take better engagements. But suddenly, like, Yo is the biggest MbL fan in the world right now. Like, Yo's like, come on, MbL, let's go.
This game is more about Yo than about MbL, to be like. MbL's gonna pocket the $40, but Yo is really the guy playing behind this one right now. He's the guy with the emotions,
Yo had like messaged MbL before this game. Is like, dude, if you don't beat Liereyy one time, is like, I'll F4 every time we get a ranked game against each other. Like, I don't care. I will never get games. I'll waste your time forever.
I could also see Mr. Yo saying, "Yo, just go for Berber all the nights." Like, this is such a Mr. Yo strategy as well. Granted, MbL and Yo are pretty similar in their styles, in a way, at least for the Arabia games. But...
It would, talking about that, it would be interesting. We'll have to look at the bracket, but like, wouldn't it be funny if MbL wins this game? Yo gets excited, he gets a bye to the quarterfinal. Then Liereyy goes to the round of 12, wins in the round of 12, and then it's up against Yo in the quarterfinal. Like, I don't know how it's structured.
Back for more.
Yeah. But great job from MbL. This pressure is so good.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like, there's ACCM, myself, and Viper at the top of the groups right now as well. It's just...
Everyone's kind of playing so sharp.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, ACCM really stepped up here. Like, hard to say he's like the best round out of the names.
Yeah.
So no matter who you're getting these days, and that's why it's so exciting. No matter who you're getting, it's always gonna be a tough round. And great play from MbL now to add economy behind this. By the way, it's at 74 villagers. So not only does he have the fight wins, but he also has the economy behind it, and it looks like he is winning this game.
Wow. All right. So MbL kind of spoiling Lierey's party. We will still have one final game, but good for MbL. Boost his confidence a little bit, I hope. Even though he's still relegated, he's got a little bit to banter with Liereyy over, I guess.
This brings me joy to watch. I have 2 teammates going into a round, and both of them lose. Like, both of them lost. That's it. None of them got the desired outcome. I'm sitting here casting my teammates, and they're just destroying each other in the tournaments. But, I mean, well played MbL there.
I mean, Hare, if there's ever one thing I think of when I think of you, I think the best teammate ever. So it's perfect. That's AM in general. Aftermath in general, always supporting their team, never rooting for the others to fail.
It's the kind of thing where you need something over the other guy in the team. So like if MbL loses here, he needs to win something else versus Liereyy, just to have some comeback talk, So right now they both lost, so I'll be doing the talking next time we meet,
Well, game 3 will be coming up. MbL barely collected more resources that game, but the value on the fights, man, he had 140 kills and 58 deaths. And so, in terms of what Liereyy did wrong, I think he just needs a little bit more in that initial fight, because if that initial fight is closer to a 50-50, in theory with the TCs he should hold. But man, it's tricky for me. I don't have a lot of answers. I'd be like sending this rec to somebody for coaching, because like, he's moved forward with the crossbows, which I liked. Then he saw MbL had +2 armor, and he went back because MbL was probably all in, which I also like. And then you wait, and you add monks, and you go TCs, which all makes sense. And then you just die anyways. Like, it was just well executed from MbL. We find ourselves here in game 3. This is the final game of Group B. And MbL has gone for the Mayans, which is the first time I've seen Mayans on cross since 2021, I think. And, you know, my first thought is, does he want to try and steal a boar or something from Liereyy, who has gone for the Italians, which we've seen Liereyy pick before. It's a bit of a comfort pick for him. It's cheaper fishing ships, cheaper dock techs, and cheaper to go up to the next stage, and great archers. So feels like it's perfect for Liereyy to have here on Cross. I actually remember one game specifically with Mayans. It's the one I'm thinking of. It was in a qualifier, and is a player who was in gold this season. His name is Overtaken, and he went one dock, fast castle, plumed archers. So he went full wall, safe dock, and his opponent was Dark. Actually, I don't know how many of you guys remember this. So Dark took 3 pawns then and had a massive fish boom, and then Overtaken castle dropped his face. And Overtaken was behind by 20 fishing ships, but he just had plumed archers all over the map and won the game. But I don't think that's realistic. With this generation, it's so open. But Mayans are Mayans, I guess, right? Still cheap archers, good eagles. I think if it's Arabia, you definitely prefer Mayans. So maybe MbL will want to turn it more into an Arabia style and not focus on the fish. But I think at the very least, you absolutely have to dock your starting pond. You need to have fishing ships working for your economy. Because then if you're not killing 3 or 4 villagers, you're always going to be behind. And then I think you could possibly adapt from there. I like going Mayans on 4 lakes. I go heavy on fish to fast castle and then make crossbows and plumes. Yeah, that makes sense. They're very close together here. And Lierey's actually going to choose to dock the right side instead of docking the south here, which is my first thought. But I guess he's kind of stuck in between 2 options. After this, I forget the exact order, forgive me, but we will have Barles versus Sato and then at Tato versus Sato. Tato could be relegated today, guys. Another big name could be relegated. But it's going to be either Barles, Sato, or Tato relegated. And then Sato and Tato and Barles will also be fighting for their different positions in that group. But Sato, I think, has the slightly greater odds to get 3rd place. Slightly greater odds to not be relegated because he's playing twice. But then again, like if MbL's games today is anything to go by, as MbL goes for the trap. Nope. Yeah, if MbL's games today is anything to go by, that I could also easily snowball against you as well. You could also just lose a lot of games and have it not look good for you.
Hello, I am back. I apologize for that.
All good, dude. All good. We're just talking about Dark Age and whatever else.
Yeah, I noticed that MbL picked up Mayans finally. That's looks like it's taking it for the last game, which is fair enough.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I think as long as you dock, a dock is a must in Dark Age. But I think as long as you do that and then transition a bit more into land, I think Mayans could be fairly solid. But you can't just skip water entirely, obviously, and you still might want to try and compete. It's just kind of tricky, I think, Castle Age and beyond to compete with the Italians on water.
Yeah. I will say, though, this map seems to be quite open in strategy. After, like you said, the initial first dock, like, everyone's doing that. But after that, it seems to be, like, a lot of options that could work.
Yeah. I personally love it. I've been trying to play it a little bit more because I feel like there's just no map like it, you know? There's so many different things you have to pay attention to. And the pros and cons are awesome, right? Like, someone loses 3 fishing ships. Well, the reason they're losing 3 fishing ships is probably because they're investing their wood and their gold into archers on land.
Yeah.
And then their opponent doesn't have archers, so then 3 villagers could die, and then they're even. It's super cool. It's super messy.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the kind of thing where even like if you have the theoretically best strategy on it, a lot of things can go wrong when you're still playing full open.
Yeah.
And this map, it's quite difficult to map to wall, this version of it. In the past, Cross and 4 Lakes have been maps that are often just like fully walled and people playing extremely safe. But this version of it is probably one of the best I've seen. There's a good balance of like a good amount of fish, but not too many in the lakes. And there's also like, you know, a lot of trees, but also not a lot of full walls. So it seems like the perfect balance of a 4 Lakes or a Cross game. I don't even know what this is called. Okay, Cross. Yeah, Cross game.
How dare you call it 4 Lakes?
Yeah, it was always Cross until it was 4 Lakes. Like they came second with the name.
Well, great scouting from MbL. What's going to be awkward for him is he didn't scout the dock from Liereyy in the south. So he will either A, assume that the dock is to the right, or he is going to assume that it's down there, but he didn't fully scout it, you know? So you always got to think about that. But Lierey's just going to take this to lands, which I like, because I think the Italians are a little bit more adaptable on water as is. And you're Liereyy, and you're incredible with Man-at-Arm Archers, so why not, right?
I also think it's punishing MbL's forward gold, so he's playing the map pretty nicely. He's even coming forward with villagers here.
Ooh.
Playing the map well, it seems.
Do you tower the wood now? Because you already denied the gold. Okay, he's going to do both, I guess.
Yeah, tower wood or gold. Liereyy says yes. He's going to go for right in the middle.
Cancel. Back away.
Leave, right?
Back away. Yeah. You let MbL counter tower and you back away. You stop now.
Yeah.
Yep. And now MbL stops too.
Yes. I love this.
It's so funny too, because like now MbL has to pay attention. Is he going to build it again? Okay, he's going to build it. I need to build mine.
Oh, MbL's going to rush it down, but Liereyy has Man-at-Arms on the gold. Goes back? What? That was strange. Lierey's going to make the tower and leave, I think. Oh, but he could get trapped.
Oh! But who's trapped? I don't know who's
trapped.
Men-at-Arms are in. Oh, God. I feel like this always benefits the aggressor here, as long as the villagers that are in the tower run right away.
Yes.
It's like you kill and you run
shoot.
right now. You run.
You have to run right now. Oh, perfect timing. MbL was even there. Like, MbL's playing well, but Lierey's a step ahead. That being said, though, MbL clears all the aggression pretty quickly. Lost only one villager. So although it was messy, he can now start to recover.
Yeah. I mean, you start with an additional vill as well, if you're the Mayans. And the biggest takeaway from this is that MbL is making archers that whole time. Lierey's just now adding the archery range. So I think he got like... It was very against Lierey's playstyle, that tower. I think he just got overly excited. Probably also was thinking, well, if I win or lose here, it doesn't really affect things, so let's just get wild. And, you know, I think being late onto archers and having to go into skirmishers now always benefits the Mayans, because the Mayans can always switch into those eagles. In fact, you could argue that's like the unit for them throughout this type of game, where it's super open and the raid potential's there.
It's funny because you might think that the Aztecs or the Incas have the best eagles because Mayans have the best archers, but Mayans have both. They have the best eagles in the game, and they also have the best archers in the game. That being said, the benefits of the Mayan Eagle come only in Imperial Age with the unique tech. Before that, it's just a generic unit, but generically, the Eagle is still incredibly strong, especially against the skirms. Lierey's going out with 4 vills. Is he really going out for the deer? That's a bit risky, no?
I mean, it is risky, but I've seen Liereyy do some pretty risky things. So,
true.
You know, just like 1 second away from getting all 4 of his villagers trapped in there a moment ago. And I love how Lierey's been playing the map. He's got fishing ships on the right, fishing freely, easy. He's docked the south, fishing freely. MbL's been on the same 3 fishing ships the entire game, and that could affect his castle age time here.
And to be honest, there's no reason why MbL shouldn't have been on a dock. He's got 300 extra wood. He's now going for a villager on the left-hand side, but it's just a little late. You know, that dock could have already been up. He could have already had a little bit more food income. Obviously, we're going to give some human error here. He was defending a tower rush from Liereyy, but, you know, it's the little things like that that could make the difference in these games. Glad to see him on it now, though, so he's going to be a little late, but better late than never, of course. Back in that main gold in a big way. It's going to be eagles and archers for MbL right now.
Yeah. I mean, you know, MbL's making a lot of army right now, but the eco hasn't been there, and... You know, it is the second time today we've seen MbL on this map, and I have to say, like, he needs to brush up on his play on this map, because at the very least, your initial dock should have been pumping fishing ships throughout Feudal Age. If you're not going for a second dock, that's what Liereyy had been doing, and Liereyy also expanded, and this is just like, I don't want to say inexcusable, because it's maybe a little harsh, but it's not what the top 24 in Platinum have done on this map. Let's just put it that way, right? Yeah. It is uncommon. Everyone else seems to have their transitions down, and we'll see, though. I mean, I think the army composition, if anything, could bring MbL a lot of value. He's even going for armor on the Eagles, and he'll have... I mean, Eagle Archer is better than just skirmishers in Castle Age, but Feudal Age, it's just slightly more awkward.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Eagles in Feudal is that they're like the perfect counter to the skirms, but they don't move that fast. Like, they're faster than the skirm, but only slightly. So you get some hits, but it's not like a scout cavalry that's like surrounding the skirms and like really chasing them down. So, like you said, a little awkward there. MbL did commit to the armor, so those Eagles will be slightly more tanky to the Vill hits. I will say Lierey's played this quite interesting. He's going up to castle before heavily committing to feudal age.
Yeah,
Like,
you
he
think
wants to
so.
go castle first and then military.
Yeah, it's so greedy, right? But if he holds this, he will absolutely dominate MBL once knights come out. MBL
Yep.
has to get value, and I like what Lierey's doing. It's not easy to do. You have the skirmishers on the front, and you know the skirmishers can tank from the enemy archers. If you see the archers, kill them. Otherwise, you pull the skirms back, and your archers will weaken the eagles, in theory. It's just not easy. Like this, you could lose your gold, and you could lose the game right here if you miss micro it.
Now he's bringing some vills in the action just in case, because if the vills fight now, your military is still there. If the military dies, then the vill has to fight. It's not the best, so kind of mixing them up a little bit. But like you said, you're fighting on Lierey's main gold here. This is like one mistake away from losing the game, and MbL is looking for it as well here.
Yeah, I like this from MbL. He's like, fine, let me just kill something. Let me get some vills. He won't lose eagles, but he's continually produced here. And a little stubborn from Liereyy. I think he could have backed away to the gold in the back of his base. He didn't have to take these risks. He could have maybe walled up. I mean, he's kind of walled on the right side. But MbL, he does dock the right side here. And this gets interesting. Because Liereyy will be in Castle Age faster, but if he starts to lose control of his pawns too, could be a problem.
The thing is, I don't really see what the faster castle is really getting you. You lost 4 vills on the gold. You're also now having to fight on the water. So you're getting up to Castle Age faster, but you're not doing a whole lot. You know, you might get the War Guy upgrade, you might get a couple knights.
Yeah.
But MbL will be completely fine at home with just a few spearmen or a few defensive archers here.
Yeah, I feel like this is also, one of the instances where you and Lierey's playstyle could differ slightly. Like, you like to have the army control with the eco behind and then go castle. And Lierey's like, I can micro a little bit better for 5 minutes. And then in Castle Age, I get my units out and then I dominate. And it's just a risky situation you put yourself in if you're Liereyy. But again, he's still not leaving the goal.
I like to play a lot more safe. I like to play a lot more safe than this, that's for sure. Yeah. That villager's evading death like 3 times now, by the way. That one villager on low HP. There's another one in there, though.
MbL's going to maybe feel desperate for villager kills because he hasn't clicked up yet. And just can't help but feel like if MbL would have fished a bit more, that he could have clicked up behind this aggression, but he didn't prioritize it. And you could argue as well that he wouldn't have the aggression had he prioritized the fish because one person can only do so much, right? A good hold on the gold. I like that. It's just holding the position and just buying yourself some more time here.
Yeah, like I said, like I was going to say, actually, sorry. I don't think you necessarily have to rush the click up for MB. Obviously, that's your next step. But you can add some spears. Your army is still stronger than what Liereyy has. And he's actually forced to siege workshop, which is, once again, not what Liereyy wanted with this faster castle time. He wanted more knights. But the knights alone won't cut it versus the spears and archers. So it's going to have to be maybe a Mangonel or a Scorpion. But Lierey's off gold, and he's taking some damage here.
Yeah, and he also didn't switch to the gold in time. He now has to drop a market, which he didn't have this entire time. And more time bought here by MbL as he's playing towards archers, eagles, and Castle Age. Triple barracks makes me think it's going to be more eagles than anything, but you could always do a combination of everything. Big shots needed here for Liereyy to stabilize, I think. Because he doesn't have the knights right now to clear this. One big shot, though, and suddenly he's okay.
Yeah, and the thing is, this game will 100% transition to an all-in from Liereyy. I don't see him adding in town centers. Mangonel's out, and a decent shot, but nothing crazy. Yeah, I think he's going to go for the all-in here because he knows he's behind. He knows he lost a lot of vills, but he does have the Castle Age army earlier, and that lets him kind of gain momentum, especially with the 2 Mangonels here.
Yep.
So.
MbL, 8 eagles in queue, no more archers, so the small archer group is probably just going to be it. I'd like to see him not even engage, just run around along the back of the map there. It's don't let these knights run forward at all anytime soon. This is good. Yeah, run away, and then look at the value the eagle and the spearman can get to. He's being such a pest.
Yeah, if he even gets remotely close to killing that Mangonel, it's huge. If he kills it, it's even better. He might even... Oh, good micro from MbL. Well played there.
He blocked.
A little sloppy from Liereyy as well.
Yeah, super sloppy. Liereyy still no counterattacking yet, right? And we're still looking at 4 knights, soon going to be 5, and maybe double Mangonel, but feels like if MbL's got 10 or so eagles, MbL could actually engage against all this.
Okay, so wait for the Castle Age attack boots to come in. It's in. Monastery right away from MbL. Goes for a market. A little earlier on the market would have been better, but nonetheless, still in a decent position. And now, obviously, MbL is in the driver's seat. The score is a little deceiving here. It's close because of the water, but a lot of the water score that Liereyy has is completely obsolete. Like the 4 fire ships he's got on the right side doing nothing. So MbL is definitely winning here, and he's grabbing some Eagle Warrior upgrades and throwing down a Monastery for some monks.
And we'll see how Liereyy can execute. You said it would be an all-in. He doesn't really have a position to boom much. He has to get damage done. So here he goes. He will have vision here because of his house. And MbL quick walling. Very well played. Again, it feels like MbL can take this fight once he has Eagle Warrior. There's not many upgrades on Lierey's Knights. And yeah, MbL will be happy to take this fight. Especially, I think, when he knows how much damage he's done to Lierey's economy. He knows it's hard for Liereyy to make more Knights.
But this is perfect from Liereyy. Just get a few kills and run back because you can heal those Knights later. You can't afford to lose any of those Knights. It's a weird position to be in. Does lose one, and MbL is now chasing him. You know what? MbL can go here, I think. You could commit.
I would have committed, and I think the same result would have happened. I lose all my Eagles, and I don't kill the Mangonel. Oh, man.
It's close. No, he doesn't get it. That's brutal.
Well, I mean, I think if MbL just relaxes a bit, right? And he just clicks Pikeman. He accidentally clicked Man-at-Arms, which is kind of funny to see. But yeah, he's going to have Pikeman now.
Yeah.
He should... Eagle Pikeman should be okay. But again, unit control is so important, and Liereyy just showing there what you can do with Knight Mangonel. Couple repairs. Couple kills in the Knights. We saw MbL do it in game 2, obviously. Get crazy value against counter units. But it was Berber Knights, right? Like, the Knights were much cheaper. And Italians, the longer the game goes, while their Knights aren't bad, they're not great either. So
they're just generic Knights, you know? It's nothing special about them, yeah. That being said, though, Liereyy is picking up Gil Nuts, and if there's one thing I know about him, he loves his fish traps. He's one of the only pros, maybe him and Viper, that really pay attention to those fish trap games in hybrid maps. And especially with the Mangonels, you're getting good value. If you can fish trap behind this, beautiful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, MbL, he had like 4 separate groups there. He does get the conversion, and I imagine MbL was doing things at home, but some sloppy fights from him. Still, though, I think he'll be happy if he's adding the second town center, and he has more army coming in the middle of the map that he could just hold this position. But it's becoming a little dangerous now because MbL only has like 4 infantry units and 2 monks, and then his own siege, and Liereyy still hasn't lost many knights, and he's still going to have some siege available.
And I was going to say the monastery was needed for Liereyy. A little late, to be honest. It is coming in now. Liereyy needs to just wait for monks. I don't know why he's forcing the engagements. You can't fight right now because if you get converted, you lose your Mangonel, and it's just terrible.
And MbL's a beast with monks. MbL's going to kill effectively 3 knights there because he converted 2 and then killed 1, and then the Mangonel. Liereyy might save it, but now he's down to 3 knights.
That was an absolute hard punish of Liereyy moving out there. I knew it was a mistake, and that was... worst case scenario. You not only lost those knights, you lost the Mangonels because now MbL has those knights, and now MbL's pushing with pikes, and there's no Mangonels and there's no knights to defend. Liry's in a tough position here.
Man, MbL's probably thinking, if I just would have got 1 win against Backed earlier, just 1, I could have saved myself here, and it would be a completely different conversation. Who would have thought it would have been easier to get wins off of Backed than it is Liereyy, right? And yet here we sit. MbL's got the lead in this game, and the score is 1-1.
You know what it is? It stopped mattering. He lost every single game that mattered, and he won the 2 that didn't matter. It's literally insane what mentality does. I'm almost sure that played a role in it.
Oh, for sure.
Every single game that mattered, he lost, by the way. Even the first game versus Liereyy that mattered, lost it.
Yeah, and like what you mean. Obviously, with the format, every game does matter, but it's the pressure games where we went into it knowing your best chances are against Backed, that you have to deliver now. And now he knows he's relegated anyways, so he's been able to make results happen. And it could be the flip side of that too. Like Liereyy might not have quite the same level of urgency, but honestly, I think if anything, it was just greed from Liereyy. It wasn't like him trolling or doing anything very different than what he would normally do.
I mean, I really think this whole, this player was trolling in a tournament conversation ended 5 years ago, and it just got kind of carried on from viewers and fan bases. But I think at this point, the level's really just caught up. No one's griefing or trolling any games on purpose. There is bad plays that happen, and pro players are great at punishing those bad players or those risky plays. So, it's kind of more what's happening.
I'll be sure to remember that when people say that you were trolling in the game you lost against me yesterday.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll be like, hey, Hera said he wasn't trolling. By the way, crazy counterattack from Liereyy. He's killed 5 Vils, 6 Vils, 7 Vils, and he's going to get to MbL's gold right now.
Oh, brutal. Was that calling it too early here?
What in the world?
MbL's push is nice, but that was a sick counterattack. MbL still continues to push in with some plumes, though. He's heavy on stone. And MbL continues to lose vills, by the way, in the cold. This is crazy.
Also,
like
Liereyy walled
vills down.
Liereyy walled in his monk on his woodline so it wouldn't get killed, so he can convert a knight.
Oh my god.
Yeah, this
All
got
kinds
even
of nonsense
messier.
going on.
I don't know how this got messier, but somehow it did.
There's 2 eagles and a pike running through Lierey's CC to get to the other side.
I mean,
Oh,
I still think I favor MbL because he should have the potential to clear up the raids, and he's got a forward castle, and he could even make a second one soon. So I think MbL should still be fine. He's gonna take out the Mangonel or get close to it, but he's been all over Liereyy, and I think if it's even eco and it's 2 castles versus 0, you always favor the player with the castles.
Oh, castles are such a big thing. When it's forever castlers like this, castles just do so much. They control ground and they kill buildings over time. It's such an underrated thing.
Yep. Look at this hero archer on Lierey's gold in the back right now.
He's having a feast. He's got 10 archers. He's got 10 villas. He's picking a shot.
Yeah. MbL knows it too. I think he moved it, put it on stand ground a little bit closer to the gold, so the shots don't miss as much.
I think Lierey's coming with a Mangonel though. Oh no, he's sending a couple knights back. I think. Yeah. I mean, those guys. What? Nope.
Meanwhile, MbL's castling the right side. It's a good castle for long-term control. It's just the way this game's been flowing. It's just kind of a silly one for me. Because if you had army mass, I'm sure you'd want it a little bit more direct. But MbL just needs to stabilize his economy at home. He's got the lead there. He's got 52 vills versus Lierey's 45. And actually, it wouldn't be too bad for MbL if he were to try and, like, maybe send a villager from his middle castle down to dock. Or even, bring a monk, convert the fishing ships from Liereyy, and then steal all the fish traps. That's what you do.
Bro, you're on some community games things. Like, that's not gonna happen. Someone's gonna make a monk and
it's a
convert the
legit
fishing
thing.
ships?
Okay, listen, Samaro did it versus Fire, and it probably won Samaro the game. Fire lost like 15 fish traps because Samaro converted 1 fishing ship and then stole all the fish traps and deleted them.
What? That's so annoying, actually.
Yeah.
And you know what? I would never notice it if it was happening to me. So
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
a much more reasonable approach. A quick tower here should do the trick as well, but not as much style. I think that plume is stuck on the tower there on the right hand side. By the way,
I think
this little bug there.
I think like all the villagers who have committed some type of crime in MbL's economy are sent to that forward gold because it's never protected by anything. Like it's just wide open, no walls. Just come kill me.
And the knights are always going there, by the way. Like, Lierey's had a lot of success. Lierey's raiding the right-hand side as well. And to be honest, like, if this gets way too messy, that MbL starts losing vills by the dozen.
It's happening. Yeah, look, he's still losing vills.
Yeah.
And he's microing in Lierey's base, and he's doing a great job there. Don't get me wrong. But he has not reacted underneath that TC.
He's gonna look back and see all the dead corpses. It's the worst feeling. He does react now, though.
Oh man, panic TCs for Liereyy. Now Liereyy probably would have resigned already if he didn't see those knights kill like 20 villagers. Because I still don't know what Lierey's long term is, right? Yeah, he's got plumed archers now, and towers going up more towards the right side, and now Liereyy calls it. A messy game. It was even in terms of the eco damage, 35 to 35. But this does conclude Group B. Yo is in first place. Lierey's in second place. Third place then is backed.
Crazy.
Let me double check this, but I think it's actually backed.
It is. It is.
Yeah, and then Draken will be back in Titans League Platinum next season. Draken will also be, I think, very motivated after that to prove people that he could do it a second time. Much to everyone's surprise, Dark and MbL are the 2 relegated, so more big names going down. And it was a good group. I think it went as many people expected with Yo and Liereyy. I think people had greater expectations for MbL to accomplish more. But Yo and Liereyy moving on to the playoffs are going to be able to take games off of anybody. Favorites to possibly win the whole thing. And we'll see what Bact can do, man. Bact is playing with house money right now, right? He wasn't supposed to make the playoffs. He made it happen, so I think he'll go in with no pressure.
Yeah, and to be honest, Bact from someone, he was literally retired. He's got 280 in the pocket 100%, and he's just playing for more, basically. So he's feeling pretty good about himself right now. I was quite impressed by Bact, honestly. I don't even think that he got lucky with his results. I think he was playing quite sharp, and he was playing up-to-date meta, by the way, which is the most impressive probably out of everything.
Yeah, agreed. And he was very aggressive too, and he didn't seem slow. Like it was definitely like form is temporary, class is permanent type of a thing with him. But just talking about Back's results real quick, he got a win off of Liereyy. He 3-0'd MbL. He 2-1'd Draken. Like he actually Back experienced everything. He got 3-0'd by Yo. He took a game off of Liereyy. He 3-0'd MbL. He then 2-1'd Back, Draken, and then he got 2-1'd by Dark. So he was 0-3, he was 1-2, he was 2-1, he was 3-0.
He's done it all.
He's done it all.
He's grown from it. The other groups are really interesting as well. Like Nikov Winchester getting relegated from Group A was pretty, surprising.
Yep.
I think even Group C, like Kapach getting out, Ganji Miguel getting in, not the on paper results that you'd expect. Every group has had some sort of upset or some sort of surprise, which is what you want to see, I think.
Yeah, as it stands, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 players that were promoted from gold staying alive in platinum for the next season. And it could be more because in Group D, we don't yet know, and we will know at the end of the day, of course, what happens between Tato, Sato, and Barls. We could have Tato be relegated. Sato's got a series against Barls and then a series against Tato back-to-back. If Sato beats Tato and then Barls gets any sort of wins versus Sato, Tato's out. So I have currently, Hera, you tell me what you think, but I think Sato has played amazing Age of Empires. I don't think there's any world where Tato or Barls sweeps him. I think he's good enough where he's getting at least one win there. I think Sato is safe in my eyes. I think he should be.
I think Sato's more likely to 3-0 Barls or Tato, to be honest.
Yeah, agreed. So I think I'm leaning right now with this last minute drama. I think Sato's going to go third and Tato or Barls is going to be fourth or fifth. That's what I think.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Barls is in pretty good form. Haven't kept up with his tournament performances, but I played him on the ladder a few times and he's pretty in shape. Definitely upped his level over the last year. And Sato upped his level like crazy over the last year. Like I'm favoring him over big names like Tato, to be fair. So just it props to him more than anything.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, I will reach out to you about casting some of the playoffs. If you're down, of course, I know you're going to be playing as well, but I figured maybe round of 12 on Wednesday, especially you might want to see cast your opponents, right? Because as it stands, you'll be up against either Valis or whoever's second in Group D. So actually, oh god, it'll be the most confusing series ever. I think it'll be Veleza versus Valis.
The classic, yeah.
But yeah, I'll reach out if you want to cast more. It was great having you stop in, and I had fun. So
thank you so much, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure, and I'm definitely down to cast some more in the future. Enjoy the rest of the day, though. Take care, man.
All right, yep, you too, dude. See ya.
Bye-bye.